Well, hello, Sieran. How are you, my friend?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good. I'm very excited. I'm so excited. Nice to meet you. The man behind the many words and poems that I read. An icon to me, really. Somebody I connected with very, very early on Medium, and I know that you're a really loyal follower of myself, like I am of you. So it's really, really good to meet you. So for those who don't know you, let's take you back to basics. For those who don't know you, who are you? Just tell me a little bit about yourself. Let's start there.
I feel like I'm gonna regurgitate my bio. If anyone's interested, I wrote a long ass about me for more details. But even though it's a bit outdated, but I often start with my LGBTQ plus identities. I'm gay, trans, non-binary. I use he/him pronouns. I am also somewhere on the aromantic and asexual spectra, and I'm also autistic. And as for what I like to write about, aside from what, as you can imagine, LGBTQ plus issues and social justice, I also like writing about psychology, writing, creativity, lots of fiction and poetry. Recently, I admit that I'm kind of leaning more towards fiction. I think my interests keep changing. For fiction, I'm most drawn to fiction. Oh, sorry, fantasy and romance. Oh, I'm also working as a psychotherapist. I just started my private practice.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know if that's enough of an intro. Oh, I also love Pokemon and pets.
That's amazing.
Anyway.
That's amazing. Okay. So how long have you been? Well, let's take it back to the basics. So you started out your writing career actually not writing. You started drawing. That's how you got into creativeness, or at least that's all I know. So tell me, take me back to your days of drawing when you first started, pen and paper or pencil, whatever it was. What attracted you to drawing initially?
I'm not sure. Actually, it was just something that that was just a matter of fact that I love drawing. I actually never thought about why. It just happened. I guess I just loved doing it. It was just pleasurable to fiddle around with it, and I'm a very detail-oriented person. I think there was a time where I really liked copying pictures. At the time when I was a kid, oh no, actually more like a teenager, I was really into the realistic style. I like to draw. I especially liked drawing animals, actually, not too into drawing humans. I mean, I tried and improved a bit with humans, but I guess I'm just not too into drawing humans. There's something about how you have to get the proportions right, and I'm just not good at proportions, not good at anything visual spatial. So I prefer animals where you could be more approximate, or even animal like fantasy creatures such as Pokemon. I like drawing those things.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, listen, you went up on me. I can draw a stick man, and that's about it, really. When I draw pictures for my girls, I draw a dog, and they go, "Oh, Daddy, that's a nice car." So no, I'm absolutely terrible. So I think you've got to be really creative to be able to draw, and it's something that I noticed. When well, I know you've got it on your profile as an example. So you started writing fairly young as well. I know that you've got some books out there. So before we talk about the books that you've got, let's just talk about, well, can you remember why did you start writing? Was it just a question of just writing in a journal, just getting some things jotted down on paper? Was it just the love of it? Perhaps you fell in love with it at school or something? Or was it something that you started a little bit later on in life?
I started actually very early. I realized there was a part of me just kind of took for granted that a lot of other people started early, but it wasn't the case. But yeah, I started. I don't remember when exactly I started, but I was super young, maybe grade 1 or something, or maybe shortly after I learned how to write. I was pretty precocious when it came to learning to read and write and spelling and grammar. It wasn't hard to me. I very lucky in that case. And I really liked writing stories, were often animal or dinosaur stories. And I would accompany that with pictures. For school assignments, we would have to write stories, and as you can imagine, mine tended to be long. Remembered in either grade 1 or 2, where it wasn't supposed to be that long, but I just kept writing chapters and chapters. I don't remember how long it was or whether I even managed to finish it. But I mean, often I would have to stay after school because I just couldn't finish things. Too detailed drawings, too detailed writing. It persists today.
I mean, that's really interesting because I know that we have conversations, and sometimes I look at your comments and I'm like, wow, that's just so much. I'm like, brilliant. Because one thing I know about you, even though it's the first time we've actually met face to face, is that you're incredibly thoughtful. And I know that you will really think about the words that you use. And I know that you're very sincere in everything that you say. How can I put this? Why do you spend so much time in giving people such fantastic comments? I know that probably is a rhetorical question, but you're one of probably 3 people that I feel really put a lot of thought, rather than just writing great article, nice story, blah, 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 whatever it may be. Why do you spend so much time doing that? I mean that from a respective point of view, because you could spend that time physically writing and potentially earning money for yourself. But I guess I don't want to give you the answer, but you almost come across as very, very selfless. You know, it's about those connections rather than it's about me. You don't come across that way. So what's your thoughts on that? And I mean it as a compliment.
No
Because I
worries.
really think that every time I see a comment from you, I almost get excited to a degree, because I know it's going to be such a genuine response. So why do you spend the time doing that?
Well, it's not entirely selfless, I could say. It's kind of strange. I'm pretty laid back as a writer, but as a reader, I can be pretty competitive.
Yeah.
I I often like to read everyone's comments first, and I'm thinking, okay, what hasn't anyone said before? How do I make myself stand out? It's sort of, well, it's a friendly competition. I just kind of find it fun, kind of like a challenge. I'm gonna write something that's impressive. I mean, I don't always do this, but often I want to say something that's more creative or original or interesting, or I want to share some kind of relevant but maybe entertaining or touching story, or something. I think in a way I try to impress the writers and impress other readers. I think it's part of my competitive streak. Even so, yeah, that's not completely selfless, but I also think, well, it's fine because the writer will enjoy it anyway, so why not? We're both happy. And I also, and I'm just a very interpersonal person. I really like making friends and getting to know people. I just think it's kind of depressing if it's just kind of some random facts, or okay, your article is good, or something that's some, there are some comments that feel a little more detached. Like maybe they're nice, but you don't really feel much from them, or maybe it's just me. But I mean, I like to like proactively want to make friends with people, or at least see how they react and see if I would like to be friends with them, or whether I enjoy talking to them, or whether they seem to like talking back. And I guess I'm just a very relationship oriented person, so that's another motive. And I guess in a way it's fun for me too, because it is a piece of writing. And I get it a lot of times. People say, oh, you could just publish that. I mean, yes, but first of all, I can be pretty perfectionist when it comes to actually publishing an article. So when I talk to someone, I'm not so perfectionist. It's not such a big deal when I make grammatical or spelling mistakes, even though I I still correct them if I can. Though sometimes Medium just doesn't update and I'm stuck with that title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, pardon?
No, I was gonna butt in then, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So
Oh no, you can interrupt anytime.
well, there's two things, and I don't want to forget my questions because, as I said to you before, with my Medium interviews, they were very scripted, and I don't want these conversations to be scripted, so I brought nothing with me, so to speak. But there's two things I wanted to speak to you about off the back of your answer just now. The first thing is sometimes when I leave a comment, I'm a little bit worried that my humor won't come across correctly, because as a person, I'm very dry. I mean, I can be absolutely taking the mick out of somebody and keep a completely straight face, real pan face. And it can get you into trouble sometimes. Whenever I laugh and joke with you, I never worry about that. I don't know why. I just feel very comfortable with you. So I know we've had a laugh and a joke before about various things. Do you worry that your comments might offend people at times?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm constantly worried about people's reactions. I mean, for people I'm more familiar with, I worry less, but I just do generally think, oh no, I should have said that better. I shouldn't have been that bold, or I should have used that word instead. Or why on earth did I touch on that matter? I knew it was politically sensitive, but I said it anyway. But I mean, I try very hard to be I don't know, polite, or even if I know my opinion is unconventional, I try hard to at least acknowledge other perspectives, because I find people tend to be less angry when you acknowledge other perspectives. Not
I think
always, but
I think you're definitely objective. I think you've got that skill about you where you can really look at both sides of the argument, and that's what I mean by being so thoughtful in your approach. I never feel that you're coming in at either a really negative or a really positive angle. You can kind of sit yourself in the middle and kind of look at both sides of the story. So I definitely think being objective. But I want to go back again to the last question that we spoke about, or your last answer, really. I think from memory, I said to you about, you've responded quite lengthy, or you've given quite lengthy responses to the castle. Why don't you turn that into an article? And you mentioned that yourself. I think you said somebody mentioned that to you. I know that, I don't want to mention names, but I know that there are some writers that actually create a whole ton of articles off comments. So rather than reply to the person in the comment section, they think, oh, there's money to be made here. So they'll write an article and tag somebody into it. And in response to Joe Bloggs' article, do you see what I mean?
yeah.
So do you feel that you could be missing out making money by not creating these articles, or have I just given you an idea? Maybe, I don't know. So what's your kind of thought process on that?
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have any problems with people doing that. I mean, a lot of people explicitly tell me that, okay, this is going to be very long. I'm just going to tag you in this. And I feel fine with that. It's just that I feel good that they care so much about my comment that they would write something about it, or they're inspired by what I said. And yeah, I mean, there are lots of people who told me that I was kind of missing out on the money, but I mean, a part of it is I think I don't worry too much about the money on Medium. It's more like just for fun, secondary goal. But I mean, a part of it is me being perfectionist and being picky about what I actually write, and that I have to edit it so well. So if it's just if I'm just writing or ranting about something and I feel like, oh, I don't actually want to write an article about it, then I might just miss it out. Or sometimes I feel like, well, I really just wanted to chat with this person who wasn't really much objective, then I feel fine. I mean, there were some rare instances where I did turn a comment into an article with lots of additions and edits. Yeah, I remember there was an article that you wrote that I turned into an article, well, two articles because I'm too lengthy, and tag
Which
you
one
in
was
it.
that?
Oh, that was the one about abortion, because it was a
Oh
pretty
yes.
in-depth one, and one of my longer comments, like even longer than my usual.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so on rare
That's a crazy
occasions I may
subject,
do
that
it.
is. Yeah.
Though I think maybe the main reason why I don't do it is just it's because I'm just used to writing the long comments and
Yeah.
being stuck in a routine or something, or stuck in a habit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, where do you get your inspiration from to write? Because I know you do multiple facets. There's a lot of different types, from writing personal stories to doing fiction, um, to writing about. Should I use the word sexual experiences? But sexuality, let's call it. Um, and I know you've got a pen name. I won't mention that name, but I'll come on to something about that in the future. But where do you get your creative style from? Because you are very creative. Some of the things that I read, I'm thinking, wow, just where did that come from? Um, has creativity always been in your life? Has it come from your parents? Has it come from your friends? Has it come from watching fantasy films? Obviously, you mentioned a lot to do with, uh, like dragons and dinosaurs and things like that. I'm going to come on to some of that stuff in a moment. But where does that creativity come from?
For nonfiction, it's I get I guess inspired very easily when I'm upset about something or moved about
Yeah.
something, frustrated about something. I could pretty much turn anything into a story. I'm one of those people who believe that good ideas are a dime a dozen. What really matters is execution. You could turn a very basic, even worn idea into something amazing. Or in the other case, you could have a really amazing idea, but execute it so poorly that it's a disappointment. So I rather the former than the latter. But yeah, I think maybe I also pay a lot of attention to my experience, or I'm just very emotional. I feel touched or maybe ticked off at things very easily. And I think me being detail oriented really helps too. I typically hone into lots of little things, notice little things. And one trick that I learned from as an English major, I was a double major in psychology and English, is that you it's a very easy way to be original when you focus on something so small and so specific. And then you dive deep into it rather than trying to tackle something too huge and writing a shallow article. So sometimes I do that and just talk about something oddly specific. Sometimes it helps. That's for nonfiction. Or I mean, just anything in my life that touches me, or a particular relationship I want to write about. For fiction, it's strange because it may sound weird, but I usually don't feel inspired outside of my writing. The inspiration only comes when I'm physically writing. And but
Yeah.
my muse is very reliable. It appears every time. I mean, unless I'm just physically too tired. Otherwise, I think I've just gotten really used to the process of um, letting my subconscious do whatever it likes, and I know some people talk about taming their muse, but I think my muse has tamed me. I think like that. I mean, I kind of work in harmony with my muse. Sometimes I just cringe at what I'm writing, but I trust in the shitty first draft method. I know that eventually you'll find something you really like, or sometimes it's not even as bad as you thought. I think in a way I'm pretty experienced with writing, so I'm pretty calm with that process. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Um, I want to go on to some of your books, then, that you've been writing. I'm literally an amateur because I'm in the middle. I'm at the start, I guess, of writing two books. So I just want to gain some of your experience on that. For those who don't know, just what type of books have you been writing? Let's start there.
Only one of them has actually been published, well, self-published. It was a science fiction novel that I I'm very shy about just kind of hide because I published it when I was young and naive and didn't know anything. So I'm just like, oh, it's too embarrassed to show anyone. But I mean, aside from that, I wrote a lot of novels. Many of them are from series. Most of these series are not finished. But yeah, they tend to be fantasy with romance, often LGBTQ plus romance. Ever since I realized, I think it was 25, that it was neither cis nor het. Um, yeah, so
That's
oh,
waiting a
sorry.
long time, isn't it? That's wow, 25 frums.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I believe that I was a cisgender and straight all the
Yeah,
way until then. So it's really strange when you suddenly change into minority in a
yeah,
way. I think I was lucky at I had a very positive view of the LGBTQ plus community. I mean, I had negative messages from my society, and I don't remember when um I had some kind of positive switch in my social circle where I don't know, it just seemed like queer and trans people were really cool, and I was thrilled that I was a part of this cool community now,
yeah.
like without, well, kind of like without even any effort on my part. Yeah, I just am. But I do know that for a lot of my peers, they don't have this experience where they actually wish they were not queer or trans. Um, well, I mean, I know I'm very privileged for someone with this many minority identities. Somehow I managed to land in a social circle that happens to celebrate minorities rather than discriminating. So yeah, it's helpful. And for my profession, it actually helps me to have
Yeah.
minority identities rather than they're not a liability. I feel like I just lost track of your original question.
To be honest, this is kind of an interesting topic to go into if you feel comfortable talking about it,
Oh,
because
sure.
there's going to be people. Well, first of all, of course, I'm a little bit ignorant to it, so please excuse me if I say anything out of turn. I think it's very important to get messages across to the wider community. If you feel comfortable talking about it, it's very, very important. Not everyone feels comfortable in their skin. And everybody, I feel, should do right by themselves and to hell with everybody else, to be quite frank. I'm a true believer in you accept the soul of the person for who they are. It makes no difference to me either way. If you're a beautiful person, you're a beautiful person. If you're a horrible person, you're a horrible person. Just like what you look like, let's say. So for me, it's all about the brain, the relationship, the soul, the kindness of the person. If you get on with somebody, nothing else to me matters at all. Without going into too much detail, I've had some encounters, let's say. So whilst I am ignorant because I've never gone through that myself, I've got friends who have, and some of the stories, or most of them, aren't nice, to be honest, with the way people have reacted, which is a real shame. So I'm really pleased to hear that. Whilst I'm sure life hasn't been perfect for you, I'm glad that you found a really strong community who was able to support you for the beautiful human being that you are. So that's really nice to hear. So have you had a lot of people being negative towards you, or have you, like you? I know you said you've been very fortunate as it is now, but has that always been the case?
Well, some people were negative, but it was never as horrible as what you see in the news. I
Yeah,
do live in a very progressive city, Toronto. I mean, there are bigots, but they're rare. And I happen to be in a field that's very pro LGBTQ.
yeah,
Psychotherapy. I mean, even as an English major and psychology major, I feel like those fields are relatively progressive as well. I mean, of course, there will always be jerks, but there's just such strong policies against such discrimination and stuff that
Yeah.
even bigots would have to be discreet about their bigotry. So I'm kind of protected by the policies and even by the social norms. Just if you're a bigot, then people won't like you. So if you're homophobic, and they wouldn't dare show it or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think all of that, the social norms and the policies really protected me. So yeah, it's very limited the amount of bigotry I got. I mean, it's not that there was none, but relatively little. And I think I was pretty selective in who I come out to.
Yeah.
But I mean, not in all cases. There were a few like broken ended friendships because of it, unfortunately. But I actually felt more relieved than sad. I
You
mean,
know what?
there was some sadness, but sorry.
They're not your real friends, are they? You know, because friends
Yeah.
don't judge at the end of the day. So for anybody you've lost out of your life because of that, well, they weren't worth it in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm glad, and I'm hoping that you'll, and I'm sure you are, but I'm hoping that you'll giving your support to those friends that need it as well, who may be in a similar situation to yourself. So that's absolutely fantastic, really, really good. Okay, so that concludes the end of part 1, and we will move on to part 2 shortly.